Hey everybody, welcome back to Midwest Microbrew, the craft beer discovery podcast sharing stories, interviews, and guides to breweries across the Midwest. I'm back today with Michael Williams, the brand development manager at Great Lakes Brewing Company for round two. In our first conversation, we explored the brewery and the beers that put them on the map. If you haven't heard that one yet, go check it out right now. But today we're going deeper, talking about the loyal community that they've built, what keeps customers coming back, and the strategies behind growing a craft beer brand in an increasingly competitive market. Whether you're a craft beer fan, a brewery owner, or just curious about what drives brand loyalty in the beverage world, this one's for you. Let's get into it.
Hey, Michael, welcome back to Midwest Microbrew. I'm Henry Nosek. It's good to have you back on again.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks for having us back.
Yeah,
First chat was
absolutely.
great. This one's going to be awesome too.
Yeah. So for those of you who didn't check out our first episode, make sure to go back and check it out with Michael. We had him on previously and thought we'd have him back. He's got a lot more questions that we could answer.
That's right.
So first of all, you are the brand development manager over at Great Lakes Brewing, correct?
That is, yes, that's my fancy title. Yes.
Perfect. All right. So
Which I actually like it this time. We've had other titles where I'm like, I don't know what this means. But
yeah,
this one makes sense.
yeah, it's a little more clear, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
So the first question I had was, how do you define your brand identity early on, and has it shifted at all since opening?
Yeah, totally. And for those of you who are viewing out there, I'm on the marketing team. So I'm by no means the marketing director, but I have having been at Great Lakes for 14 years this October.
Mhm.
I got a pretty good grasp on the whole thing. So, um, and especially because I've kind of done a bunch of different roles here at Great Lakes, and like whether you're a server, bartender, tour guide, running a sampling team, which is what I do today, my main function in my role, along with some other marketing stuff. There's like that element of when we talk about brand identity. I mean, really, it's almost redundant. It's like identity of the company, right? It's
Yeah.
like who we are, right? So it's fun that I've been able to communicate that in different ways to people throughout the years. And now we do it virtually on podcasts and all that stuff too. So the way that Great Lakes has, the way we defined our brand identity, first of all, it goes back to our founders in Pat and Dan Conway, who started the company in 1988. When they were, context, when they were opening their brewery, it was very different scene from what we have today, where, 9,500 breweries in the country and all that. There was basically, well, literally in the city of Cleveland, where we're located, Cleveland, Ohio, there was no brewing going on, even in the entire state. We kind of claim to be the first craft brewery in not just Cleveland, but in Ohio. So that early context, when the guys are thinking about what they knew they wanted the fresh, full flavored beer, right? That's the easy part. But then like, how do you communicate that to people? And something that's always made sense for craft beer is locality, right? So we wanted to be, we were the first, which is nice. We always also wanted to be the premier, if you will, Cleveland brewer. Same for eventually to be a premier brewer throughout the Great Lakes region. So when the brothers chose the name of their brewery, they obviously had some sort of regional aspiration going on, right? Since it's called Great Lakes, could have been Cleveland Brewing Company,
Yeah.
you know, but the name Great Lakes itself indicated that they had aspirations to provide beer, obviously for the city of Cleveland, but also for the whole region. So, but to that time was kind of wild,
Yeah.
because this whole thing was brand new. And even, I mean, in 1988, what Boston Beer, Sierra Nevada, these brewers that are giant now, way bigger than us, they still weren't big or anything like that. So that brand identity is very focused. Our original, and it's still, even 38 years later, our identity is as Cleveland's original and premier craft brewer, I would argue, and still one of the premier brewers within the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
So that's the core, right? And
Hmm.
then how does it express itself? So the way it expresses itself is through the individual beers, right? You got the broad brewery name. Okay, cool. Get it. We then kind of like enrich and give greater authenticity to that identity of being one of the premier brewers. Well, again, the premier Cleveland brewer, and then one of the premier brewers in the Great Lakes region through the beer names. And for those of you who are listening out there, if you're familiar with we call them our legacy brands today, you probably already know that a lot of those beers have names that are related to the city of Cleveland or they're related to the broader region. So there's this direct infusion of that core identity into the actual beers too, right? So for example, there's the Elliott Ness Amber Lager, which if you listen to the first episode, you probably have a little bit of this in your head already. Cool, did a little bit of review. And for the new viewers, yep. Elliott Ness Amber Lager, one of the first 2 beers we ever brewed at Great Lakes. Elliott Ness was the public safety director in Cleveland for a number of years. He drank beer at the bar that is now the main tap room of our brew pub in the Ohio City neighborhood in downtown Cleveland. And he's famous because he busted Al Capone, a bunch of bootleggers in Chicago. He was obviously a well-known figure here because he was public safety director. So, and basically there's a rumor he was shot at in our main bar space.
Wow.
Pretty sure he didn't do any of the shooting because the co-owners, their mother was his stenographer. Margaret Conway was, so she had, direct anecdotes from Ness's life and attested he didn't carry a gun off duty. Whatever the truth of the story is Ness was associated with the space. The story resonated with people. They would and still do, come to the brew pub and kind of like look at where the bullet hole is. There's a little bang flag. They drink some beer and go on, right? So like, that's a cool story about the city of Cleveland. That actually very directly relates to us. I think that's another key too, is that like, oftentimes these stories are directly related to the people, right? Like Pat and Dan's mom knew Elliott Ness. The Edmund Fitzgerald tragedy that happened in Lake Superior, 29 crew members, many of whom were from Cleveland. A sunken Lake Superior, apparently like a rock star, right? Like this ship. So like if you're into ships, this is like your whatever,
Oh yeah.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame first ballot, that kind of stuff, right? So some people might see that name and think that's weird. Why would you name the beer after a tragedy? Well, Pat and Dan were friends with the son, and are friends with the son of the first mate from the Edmund Fitzgerald. And when they were brewing their porter, they kind of imagined what the waves on Lake Superior would have been like on that stormy day. Wanted to pay tribute to the ship and the crew. So they asked their friend if that was okay. They asked for his blessing, and he said, "I think my father would be honored." Right. So we've got some stories that are key to Cleveland, key to the region, and we have a personal connection with them too. And they are the identity of those beers, right? So that just really establishes us as like, okay, like, yeah, this is Cleveland right here. This is Cleveland beer. This is Great Lakes region beer and all that stuff. So it gives us that authenticity. There's the obvious natural appeal. People like stuff we're human, right? We like stuff that's familiar to us. And it's a point of differentiation, I think. Like I can't say for sure, but I can't recall at the top of my head what other breweries were naming their beers. There's this really thought out and consistent identity amongst the beers. Whereas other brewers might have been like, this is my amber, right? It's X brewery amber. And it's like, okay. So that's the early brand identity, and that's kind of like why it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really great answer to that question. Kind of like you were saying, especially when it comes down to like the naming and everything. A lot of breweries, they make great beer and it tastes delicious and everything, but I mean, like you were describing, you pack so much identity into these beers with like how they come to be. It makes it a lot more personal. I think that's a great touch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep, for sure.
And I guess kind of getting into the next question here, what marketing channels have like kind of moved the needle for you? Whether it's like socials or events or the tap room experience, what do you find is the best way to push that message that you were just describing to me?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's really, it is everything, all those things. Now, like, obviously, like, majority of the brewers in the country are much smaller. So I'm sure other guys you talk to focus big time on the events and tap room and all that stuff. And that stuff's totally important for us as a larger packaging regional brewer. The more you say social, I can expand that to just general communications, right? Is really, really big for us, right? So, a large portion of our company's annual revenue is coming from outside the campus. A tenth of the revenue is from the campus or something like that.
Wow.
So stuff like social obviously is huge. Our newsletter, Much a Brew, traditional PR, sending out press releases that are picked up by websites, trade publications, all that kind of stuff, local media and all that is a much larger focus for us, especially those, I think, traditional forms of marketing. much bigger focus for us than most of our brethren who are a little bit smaller. We've even done in recent years some of what I call the big boy stuff. So like billboards in Cleveland, and it's like, whoa, Great Lakes billboard, right? Like a little,
Yeah.
oh, Cleveland craft brewery, you got a billboard. So just
Yeah.
doing stuff like that, commercials. We filmed a full length commercial for Midwest IPA. So we do all of that stuff too. It's just the nature of like, where's the revenue coming from,
Right.
right? So like, if you are selling all of your beer over your own taproom bar,
Mhm.
you know, you don't have to do that much, especially once you have the established following, right?
Mm.
You don't have to do as much. If you're out there and your beer is one of 200 different brands on the store shelf, then you gotta do some more stuff to make your product stand out, right?
Yeah.
Even if there's a dedicated following, because all those other breweries have dedicated followings too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sampling program I've been leading the past year plus, that's also an important part of the overall marketing machine, if you will, because you do all those communications, right? And like you gotta let people know about the product in the first place, but then you have to actually get liquid to lips and stuff like that too. So
Yeah. And that's great for getting it out there as
they,
well.
you know, one of yeah,
You were just talking about your sampling program. You had finished talking about the sampling.
yeah, we'll figure
Yeah.
it out. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
close enough. So the sampling program has been, it's not like doesn't fit squarely into social or whatever, right? But like that's kind of the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Someone sees a billboard of like Cold Rush or light beer, which
Mhm.
we've done a lot of out of home for. They're driving to work, or maybe even better, they're driving home from work, right? And they see it and like, oh, interesting beer, oh, new beer, Cold Rush. Oh, Great Lakes, huh? And then like scrolling on the phone and then show up in the Instagram feed and they see it there. Oh yeah, yeah, that. And then they're shopping at the local grocery store and there's a friendly rep there is like, hey, would you like to try our new light beer, Cold Rush? And they're, oh, yeah, that's the thing I saw. I was like, yeah, let me try it. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
4%, 100 calories. Oh yeah, Cleveland's light beer, all that stuff, right? And then
Yeah.
uh, we hate to always beat the drum these days about the situation, but it's true is that people are drinking a little bit less beer overall. There's still so many options out there, and there's so many alternative beverages out there that are competing for attention. People have their real or perceived tightened wallets and all that stuff, right? So if you being able to get that sample in front of people might be that last push that then nudges them to actually buy the beer. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the tap room's super important too, for
Absolutely.
sure.
And it's kind of like what you're describing is the more ways that you can get it in front of their head. They might not buy it the first time they see an advertisement or something, but like they get a little taste test, they get a few different ads, and they start becoming familiar with it, and then that's a great way to just kind of drive that. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. 360,
Um,
right? 360 marketing.
yeah, absolutely. So you guys are on social media. How has that been working for you, and what's kind of your strategy behind posting on social media?
Yeah. And my close coworkers on the marketing team, they run the show for that. It's all in house for us. Lily, who will surely reshare this episode on our channels at some point after it goes live, runs social for us. Marissa helps too. Marissa helps a lot more with the PR stuff, but Lily's on vacation. Marissa will jump in and all that. So it's
Yeah.
in house.
Yeah.
My teammates. I would say it's probably somewhat typical. I think there probably is kind of a playbook for social, right? So like planning out content well ahead of time, aligning posts that are coming up with planned releases, right?
Mm.
We usually have a couple new, maybe one or two core new releases a year, a couple new seasonals, all that stuff. I believe the goal is like, I want to say it's a daily post on each platform. Instagram primarily, Facebook probably second. Obviously, taking time each day to hop on, someone on the team hops on and responds to comments.
Yeah.
It shows interaction, actual engagement, addressing concerns, all that stuff, right? And it's a lot of posting about beer,
Yeah.
beer, beer, beer. Just let's get those beautiful product shots out there in front of people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that looks good. I do want to drink a beer." Right?
Absolutely.
Primarily for the new stuff, right? People know those established brands that we already talked about, but making sure that Midwest IPA, Midwest Hazy IPA are getting in front of people. The Cold Rush, the light beer I mentioned, new seasonal releases. People know our seasonals.
Hmm.
I think we're going to get seasonal a little bit, right? I'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't steal thunder from that question, right?
Oh, we can definitely talk more about seasonal. I know that that was one of the things that we touched on in the last interview, but we're in a different season now. Be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll sort repetition's good too. So yeah, but it's all just about driving awareness, trial of those new brands, returning seasonals. And then we do have a dedicated Instagram account for the brew pub too.
Yeah.
Because you got different audiences, right? I
Hmm.
mean, the guy in Wisconsin probably isn't directly interested in the event that's happening at the brew pub. So he's following GLBC_Cleveland, and he's going to get stuff about package releases that are going to show up in the Wisconsin market. GLBC Brew Pub, that's for the local Clevelanders who want to find out when we're tapping X beer at the brew pub. So making sure the content's relevant for the people who are actually viewing the content, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a great strategy. Got to make sure it's in front of the right people for sure.
Yeah.
How important is storytelling to your marketing? What's kind of like the why behind a lot of your beers? I know that you touched on some of it in our first question there.
For sure, yeah, and it does link back to that, but then I think there's a good opportunity to bring up the kind of other half and tie that to some of the newer brands. So the why for us at Great Lakes continues to be that we're Cleveland and Ohio's original craft brewery. We've been around since 1988. We're independent. We're still owned by our original co-founders. And also, very importantly, of course, we make fresh, flavorful, and innovative products that are of high quality, right?
Yep.
That we're first, but it's also very good beer, right? And you just see that stuff, like you go to that message is, it's direct and it's also indirect too. So like, you look at the Instagram bio, the Facebook bio, it's Ohio's original craft brewery since '88, independent. The PR footer, the footer that's on all our press releases is Lakes Brewing Co. is Ohio's original craft brewery, founded in 1988 by Pat and Dan Conway, et cetera, right? Like that's kind of, and then after that, the award-winning portfolio of fresh, full-flavored, and innovative crafted beverages. So that's the why, right?
Yeah.
Really, and it's important to bring up and emphasize it was very explicitly driven home in those legacy brands, but it's still the why today too. So if you're a listener and you follow us on social, or you see our newer beers out on the market, you notice they look different, they kind of sound different, but there's still, especially for the big ones, there's still that direct connection to who we are as Cleveland and Ohio's premier craft brewer. So just for example, the Midwest IPAs, regular Midwest IPA in the blue can, the Midwest Hazy in the orange can. Those are the names. That's not a story, right? That's not a story about the Great Lakes region or anything like that. It's not Cleveland specific, but it's still, the Great Lakes is like, that's a solid chunk of the Midwest, right? So it's a brand that still feeds directly into our core identity. But the key is like, because of where the beer is sold and how the beer is sold today for us, primarily, like those older stories, although cool, don't necessarily make sense to a guy who's in upstate New York, right? Like a story about someone sitting at a bar in Ohio City doesn't make sense to that person.
Yeah.
And also, if that person is under 50, they probably don't know who Elliot Ness is and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're a history appreciator, and you should be if you're not. But yeah.
And then you get a pretty good fan of the beer right away.
Whereas Midwest, if you're from the Midwest, whether you're still living in the Midwest or you're a transplant living on the East Coast where we distribute, you see Midwest, you're like, I like the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. Like, we're just proud to be Midwesterners, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you experienced that with your other guests too. So like,
oh yeah,
it's a broader name. It's not a story or anything like that, but it's still feeding into that core identity of our nature as a top Cleveland and Great Lakes region brewery. Even Cold Rush, the name itself explicitly is not Cleveland, but it's cold, right? It's a light beer, so it's cold. But just fun little tip for anyone who's listening to this in Cleveland, if you get your hands on the beer, which you should, it's got this kind of like upside down arrow pattern on it. It's
Mm.
kind of simple and it feels retro and stuff, but it's also a nod to the Guardians of Transportation statues that these Art Deco statues that are on the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge going over the Cuyahoga River.
Oh,
And
cool.
I said the baseball team's named for those statues. So it's actually it's a little, there's still even sometimes, especially for a brand that's only sold in Cleveland, a little nod to Cleveland itself. So it's still a theme throughout our beers. One way or
Okay.
the other, though, all our beers have that little Great Lakes logo on them, except for Cold Rush, ironically, which it will sometime soon. So even the broad beers like the Orange Honey Wheat that just came out, it's just talking about the beer, but it's going to be good. It's going to be quality because it's got that Great Lakes logo on it, right?
Yeah.
It's got your stamp. Absolutely.
So it's still got the Y,
Yeah.
quality brew.
Absolutely. No, that makes total sense. I like that they all kind of have like some kind of little nod or something in there, like Cold Rush. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's something that maybe I, as an Iowan, probably wouldn't pick out, but people in the area, they that's a great nod.
Yeah. Especially,
Um,
yeah,
so kind of getting into the seasonal stuff. I know that we touched on it last time, but now that was back in the winter, now that we're in spring, are there any seasonal or limited releases coming out that people should be aware of and get excited about?
for sure. Yeah. Um, and so when I was kind of thinking about this one, the idea was kind of like marketing those seasonal releases, and
Mhm.
then like we obviously want to drum them up. Yeah, the word I was thinking about the word overpromising that was sent over, and I think I don't know if this is what you were tapping into, but like it's really easy to hype up a limited release, right? Um, Especially if you're a smaller brewer. Like, dude, and I'm all about this. I'm a pastry stout guy, so
Yeah.
I'm all about the line of 100 people out the door to try to get one of 500 bottles, right, of this
Mhm.
like really cool adjuncted barrel aged stout and all that stuff. Um, we're a little different because something that's nice for us for our seasonal releases is that we're so well established as a seasonal brewer.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of hard for us to overhype because people are already doing that
Yeah.
for us. You know what I mean? And they're not
Mhm.
overhyping. What I'm saying, what I'm saying is they're already excited. Like we
Yeah.
don't have to get them excited, right?
They know it's
Pe-
coming.
People know Christmas sale. Obviously, it creates enough excitement to sustain us for a good portion of the year, right?
Mhm.
So, though we need even more excitement for the rest of the year. Oktoberfest, Conway's Irish Ale, people are already expecting those beers to come out. This is the chunk right now. It's April right now. So for spring, this is the one area where we don't have as established of a brand, although the Mexican lager with lime,
Mhm.
it's been on the market for about 5 years now, maybe even 6. Yeah, maybe over 5 years. So it's smaller than Conway's Oktoberfest. Obviously, it's smaller than Christmas Ale because Christmas Ale is our number one seller, despite
Yeah.
only being out for 10 weeks. But because of our track record in the other 3 seasons of the year, people are like, oh, okay, Gray Lake seasonal beer is going to be good. And then, they drink it and it is good. It's a very well crafted Mexican lager, real lime peel, real lime puree in there. It has a very intense amount of, we've been using flavorings to boost a bunch of our other flavored beers, especially fruit beers, but like this is all real lime. And it's like, I had 2 yesterday. And then like later on, I was like, I still taste that lime. Man, yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of nice, like when it comes to the actual marketing of these products, because for us, there's already that established like demand for the seasonal product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even when we do limited rare stuff, it's like, okay, barrel aged Christmas sale. It's like we're like building off of an established brand. The barrel aged blackout stout we've been doing for so long. So we're maybe different from some of the smaller guys where, you know, and there's not as much crazy super duper hype over like super duper limited drops like there once was. But you
Mhm.
know, that could still be, like I say, that could still be a concern. But in any case, so what's kind of cool is that excitement for seasonal, the individual seasonal can then kind of extend to other things too. So um last year we extended off of Conway's Irish Stout. Sorry, the ale, the red ale, we extended with the Conway's Irish Stout.
Okay.
And then this year, the idea went well enough that we then added an Irish lager. So you kind of had your Guinness, your Smittix, and your Harp, if you will.
Yeah.
And we did a seasonal variety pack that had all three of them in there. And people, that was gone real fast. So we're doing that for each one of the quarters this year. Here in the spring, it's a Sunshine Party Pack. So that's got the aforementioned Mexican lager. That's kind of like the anchor seasonal. It has our Rally Drum Lemon Shandy in it. That's our baseball beer. It runs through the summer. We have the brand new Orange Honey Wheat, which is kind of an everyday general. It's fruit wheat beer, but it's not like the in-your-face total fruit bomb, kind of like a sour. It's the everyday sipping wheat beer. It's got good balance between the orange and the honey. That's also a standalone year-round product in 6-packs. And the key for these seasonal variety packs is, well, one of the keys is that it's got a limited beer that you can only get inside the pack. So that's an orange lime shandy. Kind of has a margarita vibe to it. So each one of the Irish lager was exclusive to the party pack. We've got, one coming for the fall, one that'll be out for the holidays. So yeah. And out there doing samplings, sure enough, that thing. So,
That makes sense.
Yep.
Orange shandy sounds great to me too. Like that
Yeah,
sounds
it's fun.
especially delicious right now.
Got to buy that variety pack to get it.
Absolutely. It brings people in trying even more beer once they have that. So,
Yep. So yeah.
go ahead.
No, that.
So kind of getting into the tap room a little bit. I know we touched on this, but what role does the tap room play as a marketing asset beyond just selling the pints?
Yeah. And it totally is it is a source of some revenue for us for sure, but probably for us a little bit more. Well, definitely for us a little bit more than other breweries. It is also and I'm always very clear, when I'm doing trainings with the pub staff, it is its own separate business unit that is valuable in and of itself, right? But also it's a great marketing tool for the overall company, right? So I just want to stress it's not just a marketing tool, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a legitimate business on its own. So, and I started in the
course.
pub, so I know that firsthand and all that. But the tap room for us, again, most of the brewers out there, when they're selling most of their beer in their tap room, that is the source of revenue, right? For us, it's maybe a tenth or something like that. But what's very important is that the brew pub is where it all started. And our brew pub is in exactly the same buildings that it's been in since the very beginning. We've had some additions, but the core part of the brew pub is the same. And so it's still very much we call it the beating heart of the company 38 years in, right? For locals, for people in Cleveland, it continues to be an important gathering space. So we've got regulars who have been coming to the brew pub literally since day one, or since very, very early on in the company, and they're still coming here today. All sorts of yeah, totally it is. Yeah, I mean that's a long time. I've done 40 years, and if you're 21 in 1988, that means you're pushing 60 right now. So that's a pretty impactful run. Being on a trusted place for people to go for so long.
Become a part of their lives at that point. That's
exactly.
awesome.
Bringing their kids in, maybe their kids' kids. So the impact of that, and then they're sharing the love they have for Great Lakes in large part because of the love of the tap room. They're sharing that with their friends. They're bringing the beer to family gatherings, all that kind of stuff. So we're hosting local community organizations, host events, all that kind of stuff. So it's huge. And then for the out of towners, that's like the pilgrimage spot, right? I know when I go out of town, and let's say, this just came up in conversation in another podcast earlier in the week. We had a family wedding in LA, and we had some time to kill before going out of LAX, and Firestone Walker has a tap room at Venice Beach. I'm like, we're going there because it's like it's not the original brew in Paso Robles, but it's like you got to go, like especially for these long running, larger distributing like breweries. You buy a 6-pack of the beer, like I have a pint of Union Jack in New York City. It's like I gotta try it from the brewery, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for others who don't work at Great Lakes and aren't here all the time, like, oh man, Fitzgerald, my favorite beer, like I gotta try it. Or I love that new Midwest IPA. It's gotta taste even better. And it tastes better because it's fresher, but also because you're in the space where it all happened. And maybe as important as the quality of the beer and the history is the people, right?
Yeah.
So you have the people who work in the tap room, and just like we've had people who have been patronizing the brew pub for almost 40 years, we also have staff who have been with us for 25, 30 plus years as well. So production guys, yes, but also people. We have a couple bartenders who have been, goodness, they might be almost 35 years, considering we're going to be at 38 years. So they're probably almost 35 years with the company.
Wow.
So it's both sides of the bar, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
You've
another
got,
good sign too when you got your bartenders and people sticking around that
exactly.
long.
Yep. So that's the sign of a great company culture and all that, right? It's I talk about the friendly nature of the Midwest IPAs, the beers themselves, but that obviously also applies for the people too, right? So like it's very friendly group, very
Yeah.
Midwestern. You see the passion that employees have for the company. You see the passion that the co-founders and co-owners have for the company because they're still around all the time. So yeah, you definitely know it's a special place considering all that stuff. And
Yeah.
so because of that, you go there, you're probably going to fall in love with Great Lakes in a different way, right?
Mhm.
So
Absolutely. And it's like, I mean, if they're already fans of the beer, this is the way it's like, as you were describing earlier, it's kind of like the puzzle, right? The missing piece of the puzzle is the full experience of enjoying the beer in the place where it was, crafted. So
yep,
that's awesome.
the impact is huge for sure.
Oh yeah. Um, Getting into the Midwest identity part that we talked about earlier. How have you leaned into the Midwest identity as part of the brand?
Yeah. So some of that we've hit with the names and the stories and all that
Hmm.
stuff. And we touched generally on Midwest IPA, but like, IPAs being the number one craft beer category, right?
Hmm.
50% of dollars sold in craft beer IPA.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that we leaned into the Midwest identity for our relatively new duo of flagship IPAs, Midwest IPA and Midwest Hazy IPA. So that's really, we lean into it in the ways that Vari kind of mentioned, but then big time with this new duo, this we call it the Midwest IPA family, this new duo of lead IPAs that we think are going to kind of help drive that next 30 years of revenue for us as a brewery. So you see it in the beers themselves, especially the original Midwest IPA. That's kind of like your clear IPA. It's American IPA, right?
Yeah.
But it's got this distinctly Midwest twist to it. So we leaned into it with the beer itself. It's kind of got the best. I forget, we might have touched on this in the first episode a little bit, but it's got the best of both coasts, clarity and the drinkability of a West Coast. It's got the aroma and the low bitterness of a New England IPA. And those kind of meet in the middle, right? So where's the middle between those two? It's the Midwest. That low bitterness and the drinkability of the beer make it a very approachable and friendly IPA. So again, approachable, friendly, that's about as Midwest as it gets, right? So the
Mhm.
beer itself reflects our Midwest identity and then also the way we talk about the beer. Uh, we nickname it the unofficial IPA of Midwest Nice because of the sensory aspects, the way we describe it and marketing copy that's on the package and on the website, a sensible amount of hops meeting a mild mannered finish. So it's very Midwestern feeling and all that. Even the food pairings we suggest, it's kielbasa, pierogi, corn, all that stuff. It's just, you got to throw a corn reference in there for Midwest. But then even like
Absolutely.
at the brew pub, like we try to do, local ingredient sourcing for the
Mhm.
food. Um, one of the burgers is the Midwest luxury burger. It's
Mhm.
got, I unfortunately cannot name off the top of my head everything that's on it, but it's got some sort of like Midwest IPA aioli, or jam or something like that on it.
Hmm.
So on packaged beer, we lean into the Midwest thing. certainly for at least the IPAs. Definitely doing it in the pub as well, with the food, and I'm sure we've done some pub exclusive beers that are, you know, Dingus Day is a big thing in Cleveland. I don't know if it is where you are.
Not as
Like,
much, probably.
he's brewed some sort of Polish beer for that before. Yeah, it's Midwest. Midwest Dingus Day. I feel like I think Chicago probably does it. But it's Midwest too. So
Gotcha.
definitely do it for the way we talk about the beers themselves, food, events, tapping into Midwest cultural phenomena and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. People like a good local story like that for sure.
Yep.
So kind of getting into the marketing questions again. What's a marketing swing that you guys took and maybe didn't work out, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, for that one, the thing that came to mind for me was, so thankfully I can't think of, and again, like I do a lot of like direct customer interaction stuff. If I had asked the crew running social, they might have been able to point to something. But also, I feel like if we had like something that truly was a total whiff, and like especially if it was like an oopsie, like a faux pas or something like that, I would remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I know we've never had anything entirely tragic that like is a total mark on our record.
Well, that's good.
It was good. So we tend to be relatively conservative, when approaching stuff like that. We're not doing big brash, you know,
Yeah.
things like that. But not everything we've done as a company has succeeded. And the thing that came to mind for me is like some of the product lines that we've tried. And it's good because you have to try, right? When there's all this new stuff, there's the bifurcation of the consumer, not just bifurcation, many furcations, right?
Mhm.
And from just drinking craft beer to craft beer and ready to drink cocktails and seltzers and THC beverages and all that stuff, right? So
Mhm.
we tried to pursue some of these alternative lanes because beer alone probably beer alone isn't going to provide the revenue we need to succeed as the company of the size and scale that we are, right? It's just we kind of went into stuff, and it's tough. Timing's tough because things move so quickly. But we kind of went into stuff where maybe there's already like enough established players that like the chances of success, certainly we know in hindsight the chances of success were not as high as we initially hoped. So we tried like a ranch water seltzer thing, and we tried a hard tea, and generally theoretically I think a good idea, but when like
Mhm.
everyone's drinking twisted tea, it's kind of like, are we really gonna break through that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
White Claw, right? Really good. But um so a good example, like right now, it's a lot of people ask about an NA beer from us,
Mhm.
but first of all, we don't have the equipment to make it, but even like our partners, we sell primarily to distributors and all that, and they sell to retailers. They're kind of like saying, we're good with the number of NA brands that are out there. They think
Yeah.
there's more growth within those brands, but so there's growth in NA, but it's not because of bringing in new NA brands. It's growing the ones already there.
Yeah.
So that's an area we're not pursuing right now because I think we've probably learned a little bit. First of all, again, we can't make it in house, but I'm going to guess there might be some learnings from some previous launches.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this whole THC beverage world, there's not an established player, right? So like
Mhm.
that's an area that makes sense to kind of explore and maybe reach out into because,
There's room
you
in there
could be
for
that
sure.
for, so
Yeah.
yeah. But again, you got to try, and sometimes it's better to swing and miss than to not swing at all. Dude, you never want to get called out on strikes, right? Like
Yeah.
at least go down and swinging.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good way to answer that question, actually, especially with like that is something that I've noticed is a lot of people have been mentioning NA beers recently as like kind of a way
Yeah.
to kind of combat the drop that we're seeing in people drinking beers
Yeah.
across the board. But it's like if everyone's doing that, it's going to become like an oversaturated thing. It's better to focus on what you guys are like already good at and already known for
Yeah.
sure.
And then venturing into spaces where it truly makes sense. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, the THC beer, not an established player really yet. Why not
Right.
you guys?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So kind of getting into one of our last questions on the marketing brand development side of things. How do you think about customer loyalty? And do you guys have any like regulars first programs or perks?
Yeah, for sure. That kind of bumps back a little bit to what we were talking about with the importance of those regulars throughout the years too, right? So
Yeah.
like loyalty, and in many ways, I guess with employees too, right?
Yeah.
Loyalty is a really big thing at Great Lakes. So,
Yeah. It's huge for you guys.
so ironically, these regulars who have been with us since day one and have helped build our brewery, being brand ambassadors themselves, right? And again, like I kind of mentioned, bringing their friends down to the brew pub, and then once we started packaging the beer, bringing the beer to family gathering, all that stuff, right? Ironically enough, I am not aware that we do anything.
Well,
However,
the beer is enough to
officially,
bring them back.
we don't do anything officially. I
Hmm.
am sure that their tabs may be slightly lower at the end of the day
Hmm.
than someone who had the same number of beers sitting next to them, if you know what
Yeah.
I mean. But we do have, and surely we've encouraged our longtime regulars to sign up for our loyalty program. We do have a loyalty program. It's one of those things where like you earn X number of points based on the dollars spent.
Hmm.
And it's nice because employees can totally sign up for that program as well. And, this guy gets a solid amount of packaged beer from the gift shop. So I've gotten at least one free hoodie from the gift shop. I want to say multiple, but I got myself a nice comfy Christmas sale hoodie this past season because I had the loyalty points built up, and I'm like, I'm gonna get myself a Christmas present. So
Gotta have
yeah,
it.
and I assume I'm not down there like I once was, but if I'm doing it and coming back in, I'm sure there are other people who are doing it too. You know,
Yeah.
um, we've done a birthday gift, so it was a fun little thing. I used to write our newsletter, the Much Brew newsletter, and we would do a birthday email. We still do a birthday email.
Hmm.
So the month of your birthday, you receive, hey, happy birthday, all that stuff. It's celebrating you, all that kind of thing. And then we were doing like a free pint, but I believe that they switched to do it like this custom design koozie that like I'm assuming only people who are on the list and receive the email get the birthday koozie. So that's kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, but then, even just like I was thinking about this, and it's like one way or the other, like, there's the general loyalty programs and all that stuff, but like
Hmm.
I think that whole thing about even just the good relationships that customers have because we have good people here. Like we do I mean, it's easy to take the basics for granted, but we do the basics like our bartenders know regulars by name and call them by name and all that
Yeah.
stuff, right? And all that little stuff goes a long way. So there's actual, monetary loyalty programs, but there's just the relationship too. That makes sense. So
Yeah, and just the fact that you've got regular customers that have been coming in for the last like 40 years or something, that speaks for itself. I mean, the
yeah,
loyalty scene there, that's crazy. That's awesome.
totally.
Absolutely.
Gotta love it. Good people, good beer.
Yeah.
Great Lakes.
Absolutely.
That's the slogan.
So kind of getting into the final questions here. How can people keep up with you guys? I know that we mentioned socials and I'll for sure link those, but how can people keep up with the new and exciting over at Great Lakes?
For sure. Yeah. You guys can take in all of our wonderful marketing efforts that we talked about today. Facebook I think Facebook is Great Lakes Brewing Co. Instagram, the general Instagram is GLBC_Cleveland. Brewpub Instagram is GLBC Cleveland. No underscore in that one. No. Sorry. GLBC Brewpub. No underscore in that one. Those are the big ones. We're on X2. Look it up. I forget what the thing is on that. We're on LinkedIn. And sometimes like we'll post certain types of content on different channels. So like I think our first one of these, I think we posted that on LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
like follow us on all of them and you get all the content together.
Yeah.
Right. Sign up for Much Brew. If you go to the website, Great Lakes website, there'll be a pop-up if you haven't been to the website before.
Mhm.
And there's a form somewhere on the website too to sign up for that. So sometimes we'll do, the little tease announcement for something on the newsletter. So if you want to be first, sign up for the
Mhm.
newsletter. That's the big stuff. And then come down and visit us. If you're in Cleveland, go to a store, meet the sampling team, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like
GreatLakesBrewing.com is the website, by the way. Yeah.
shouldn't be hard to find.
Yeah.
Well,
The
and
Google is pretty good too. Yeah.
and for everyone listening, I'll make sure to link those in the description and everything for you guys. So Michael, any final thoughts or messages for people who would be considering a visit?
Come on down. It's friendly people. It's great beer. It's Midwest. We're proud to continue to carry on the legacy of being Cleveland's original brewer, being the first brewery in Ohio,
Mhm.
and continuing to be one of the premier brewers of the Great Lakes region. So, and then if you're not in Cleveland, go out to your local store, pick up a 6-pack, and you can experience the Great Lakes good stuff that way.
Absolutely.
Also, just as good as coming down to the pub.
Still tasty.
Indeed.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate having you on again. It's great.
Got it, brother. Thanks, Henry. Thanks for inviting us back. Always a good time.
All righty. Have a
Good
good one.
chatting.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for today. Be sure to check out some of our other exclusive interviews with the people from the best breweries in the Midwest. Bye now.